Welcome to Merchant Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, we talk about soybean seed quality in the industry when it comes to rainy weather patterns. Hear about Chitosan, a new brand new addition to our starting line soybean seed treatment. And Ben and Dylan share some local test plot yield results.
Hi, this is Joe Mershman. Welcome to Merchant Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have Ben, Lynn, and Dylan. And Ben, you got a pile of paper. I assume you want to start first.
Yeah, we can start here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about soybean seed quality for this coming year, and I have an article here from the Mid-American Farmer Grower, and they're talking about, this is basically
that's a southern newspaper,
yeah,
right?
It's an ag southern newspaper, so they cover like Kansas, Missouri, Southern Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, and such. So it looks like Carl Bradley from the University of Kentucky put an article out about how some ill-timed rain has had some effect on the later maturing soybeans that are out there right now. So there's basically two different disease complexes that can cause issues in soybean quality, and it's Cercospora, which causes purple seed stain, and it's the Phomopsis complex, which is like pod and stem blight, and then there's the actual fuzzy fungal that causes dead seeds that come from that pod and stem blight disease, or that fungi.
Yeah, and basically all these diseases in a wet year are on the surface of the pod, and then at a certain point, if you get enough moisture, they migrate into the pod and then infect the pod. We used to do testing on our seed production acres to find out what the presence of it on the surface of the pod, and then if you look at the weather forecast and saw it was going to be extremely wet, we would apply a fungicide. But now there's other reasons to apply fungicides and whatnot. This was a late application of fungicide, but all I can tell you is that hurricane, which one was it? Helene. It diagonally went up all the way up through Ohio, all that rain, because I've seen pictures in Ohio where beans were sprouting in the tops of the plants and whatnot. So anybody that got dumped on that massive amount of rain, that's where the seed quality issues are.
Yep, and essentially what the reason that it happens is because the soybeans are already mature, and that moisture happens after the soybeans are mature. And because we were in such a drought, or a flash drought, we had a lot of heat, a lot of dry weather, the soybeans dried down so quickly, but there was a lot of green stems that were left out there. So I think there are a lot of soybean fields that were ready to harvest, but visually didn't look like they were ready to harvest. I mean, we saw that up here. It was obviously present in a lot of our footprint in the south as well, and it leaves guys in a little bit of a conundrum, especially when they're getting ready to go store these soybeans in their own bins, because here you have 13-14% moisture soybeans that you want to harvest, but you have a lot of green lima beans and green pods still left in the sample, and they don't store in a bin very well. So on one hand, if you're trying to get after them when they're coming down from the first time they're physiologically mature, that's good from a seed quality standpoint, but it's very, very poor from a storage standpoint. So it's kind of a catch-22, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't style of situation for this year.
Yeah, and so as far as Merchant Seeds goes right now, we have production raised in a lot of different areas, including northern Missouri, which didn't get those heavy rains and whatnot. We're still evaluating our quality and our germinations, particularly in southern Illinois and in that region down there. However, if you do get a lot of pod and stem blight on the seed, after excellent cleaning, we have color sorters take care of any of the purple colored beans out. You put a fungicide on called TBZ, thibenzol. And it is like bleach as far as is to bacteria. It's a seed scrubber, and that fungi for pod and stem blight, Phomopsis, is on the surface. And you put a proper seed treatment on, you kill it, and once you kill it, the germ will come back. Now we can't tell you exactly where we're at yet, but we'll keep you informed. But in general, seed quality this year in those areas is going to be questionable, in my opinion. And we'll see how that turns out. And that's going to put pressure on the other areas, for supply. Now, I'm not saying there's a seed shortage. I don't want you to overreact, but it always makes sense to buy your seed early and take delivery of it early, because that's always, seed companies always clean their best beans first. We don't look at our worst bin and say, okay, let's clean that one. No, we take the highest germ stuff we have. Now, the rest of our environment that we have out there, Dylan, you've been working with a lot of the samples and whatnot. Where we didn't get the big rains, what do we got?
Yeah, those germs and quality have been phenomenal. There's a lot of 95 and plus germs coming back, and even the quality seed coats, all that have been really, really exciting, I guess, when it comes to the quality side of things.
So, Kentucky, Tennessee, Southern Illinois, Ohio, those are the areas that really got hammered hard. I can tell you with the dry seed, particularly when you get down to that 10% level, any handling that you do will cause some splits. And that includes your seed tender. That includes everything that we do. Now, in our system, we're very careful how we handle beans. So it's very important this year, because of the dry seed, that you're probably going to see a few more, particularly when a soybean splits open in a treated container or bag. It's very noticeable. And we could see a little bit more of that this year than normal. Again, too early to tell, but just being totally honest with you and telling you what we expect. But I agree with Dylan. We've seen a lot of good germs this year. It looks like seed coats in many cases are strong, but once you put that seed treatment on, you sometimes get that seed coat to pop. And so we'll be watching that very closely, and we've been through these years before, many times. So we're as good as anybody in managing these issues, and we got much better equipment today than we've ever had to manage dry seed and seed with phomopsis on it.
And to add to that too, we've got we're treating seed as we speak too, and once we send those samples off too, we're getting 97, 98s treated germs too. So on those beans that we're running on the earlier variety sides right now, but they are coming back phenomenal.
So Joe, when you were talking about, not to backtrack just a little bit, but we've been through it before with the seed coat, and since I've been here, I think we take those complaints very seriously, because we care about the quality and we pride ourselves on our quality, and we don't like our customers having a situation where they maybe, I wouldn't say question the quality, but there's some concern. And when we've taken that back, it's been sub 0.5%. I mean, the tolerance that we're allowed for the inert material on the tag, even in those worst situations, we're nowhere close to that 1% that's on the tag.
It's always worse than it looks. But keep in mind, it's always better than what it looks. I said that. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
and then the other thing too is, don't forget your seed tender. You could be doing damage with your seed tender. It might have came out of the box perfect, but then by the time it churns up whatever you've got, you can do. So slow things down, run it full. That's the best way to handle seed. I mean, all the way through. It's just always pretend like you're handling eggs. Okay.
Yeah, and to that with the seed coats too, in the boxes. I mean, it's just like your bin. That sometimes the stuff that is a little bit, your cracks and splits in your pods and that kind of stuff. Same with the seed coats. They tend to kind of migrate to the top of that box. So when you're pop that box lid off and you look down in it, you're probably looking at the worst scenario right there on the top. But when you actually get into the bulk of the material there, it's a pretty, I won't say pittance, but it's a pittance.
Yeah, well, we're paying close attention to it, and I know we're on top of it, and everything that we've produced so far, it looks very good, looks normal. But all I can tell you is we're just giving you a little bit of a heads up, mentally preparing you for what could be, and then it's not just Merschmann's. All the industry is going to be in the same boat. I mean, there's no company out there that say, "Oh no, we don't have any issues." The only difference is they don't know, and we're telling you it from the horse's mouth. In other words, the folks that manage these issues are here at this table and telling you. So you're getting better intel, better information. And I don't know about you, but when you do business with somebody, it's got to be a two-way street. Both sides got to be honest with each other if you're going to be, going to have a good outcome.
I would venture to bet that by the time March and April rolls around, there's going to be some products in competitive bags that are rolling in the 70s for germs. That's just my guess, because it's happened in years where we haven't had quite as much pressure as what we have right now, but there's going to be some 70, 75, and 80% germs in competitive bags is my guess.
And we don't like to tag below 90, but if it isn't going to make a 90, then it's going to be tagged 85. And again, it's going to be in that seed that's coming out of that the hurricane belt, you might say, and we'll try to avoid that as much as we can, and take the seed from the north until it's gone.
That's a great point. I think when we talk about our philosophy when it comes to managing inventory and managing seed production. There's redundancy built in there for situations just like this. When you're looking through your seed production master list, there's probably 2x of what potential sales could be of what you keep around just for situations to ebb and flow.
Particularly when it yields like it did this year.
Correct.
Right.
So we got plenty of seed. So we just got to be very careful in what we select and send to you, and we will. I mean, we think about it all the time. Believe me.
Perfect. So transitioning from that to another topic here, we've mentioned it a couple times on Cup of Joe, but I wanted to push this a little bit further. I have from the originators of part of our seed treatment, we added Chitosan at the 13th hour of this season. So
Chitosan is made from shrimp heads, right?
That's exactly correct.
Yeah, it's a biological.
Yep, it's a biological biostimulant style product, and I'm going to read to you guys what Chitosan is and what it all works with. So Chitosan is a large cationic polysaccharide that's often derived from waste materials of seafood processing, like what Joe was talking about there. It's a microbial defense mode of action that disrupts the membrane functions and interferes with the RNA synthesis. It basically keeps cells from reproducing on certain diseases of harmful bacteria and fungi. It's also a nematicide. It's got a nematode mode of action that damages the egg's life cycle. It provides food sources for competitive fungi that scavenge and eat nematodes, and it provides a systemically required resistance response in the plant. So it's very similar to the cis-jasmonic acid that's in the Trinimco. Both of those are SARs, or systemically required resistance. Besides the disease and pest activity, this natural compound provides biostimulant activity in the plant, boosting germination, emergence, promotes root growth and foliar growth, improves plant vigor and health with resistance to environmental and abiotic stresses like drought, salinity, extreme temperatures, and heavy metal toxicity. So it's kind of it's a wild product, and it made so much sense to add it into our seed treatment with all of those different mode of actions, with all of those benefits. It's definitely something that we felt needed to be added into the system. It's going to help all of the products that are already in our seed treatment work even better. It's just a phenomenal product.
Well, Dylan, you're saying we're seeing good germs so far this year, so maybe that Chitosan is helping us out a little bit, huh?
Right, and I'm going to attach a PowerPoint that comes from our originator that talks about this product. So if you want data on germination, if you want data on any of the nematode counts, I mean, we have all of that information backing up the decision that we made. So we'll attach that.
We will be we actually haven't really made an official announcement yet to our dealers, so this is kind of the real coming out on it, but we will be making a lot of noise about it shortly. So you're kind of getting the inside scoop today on what we're talking about, and that's why you come to Cup of Joe, is because you want the inside scoop, you want to be ahead. And the other thing you should understand is we are not raising the price of our seed to offer this product, and it is a very expensive product to add. And what's neat about it is it works in conjunction with what we already put on the seed. In other words, the hard chemistry, the other products that we have. And the number one reason why more companies don't use it is cost, and number two is the formulation has been perfected now that it works well in conjunction with other products. You cannot just put it on by itself. It will not carry the load. It has to be combined, right, Ben?
Yep. At the rate that we are using of the Chitosan, there's some organic growers that would use a rate that's potentially 4 or 5 times higher than ours, but that's their only mode of defense, so they have to use a higher load. So the rate that we are using this product at, it is not a standalone product, but it's a product that is stimulating everything else in the mix to work better.
farmer, he probably should keep eating that shrimp so we can get this chitosan, right?
That's Dylan's favorite.
Yeah. Big seafood guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but Dylan does not like anything that swims, okay?
Pretty much.
It's got to have 4 legs or he's not eating it.
Typically, it needs to moo.
So he's a big supporter of beef and pork, I can tell you.
I think the chitosan is important aspect. This is one time where we, literally took the farmer first mentality approach to our, we talk about it. This is where we can prove that, because this is one where 1 + 1 equals about 4 or 5 when it comes to this. So to Joe's point about not raising the price, it's such a yield enhancement for our end use that it just makes too much sense not to provide that to the farmer to be able to take advantage of that.
So it's not in our seed guide. And we're just getting it up on our website. So it's basically what we told you is about all is out there right now. So we're excited about this product, and there'll be more data coming and a lot of information, and we'll be making a lot more noise about it. But literally a last second substitution. In other words, we literally put this in our seed treatment right before we started treating soybeans this fall. So we just said, no, we're not waiting a year. We're doing it now, even though nobody knows about it, but they will.
And talking with Jake over at the plant too, those guys are pretty excited about it. He said the stuff is, it's basically dry as it's coming into the drying belt. So just that little bit of chitosan and a little water to get it through, it's making the seed dry a lot better. So he's really excited about using that product over there from a treating standpoint, which, we're getting to a point on our seed treatment. We're robust. So finding these products that are compatible and not going to have any issues, when related to sticking or the appearance is a fine line. And the folks that we work with and the guys across the street do a heck of a job in making sure that that uniform seed and that uniform product that we expect and our customers expect, they make it happen.
Yeah, Lynn, you're right. We're putting so much around that seed that we have to have very specialized equipment in order to do it. Not everybody can do it, but we've invested in the proper equipment because we're putting so much around that seed. And as you increase the amount that you put around the seed, it is harder and harder to get it to dry. And then number 2 is stay on the seed too. So a lot of years of treating allows us to do this. And as far as other companies using this product, there might be one other company out there that's using it, but I think you're not going to see it from the big boys, that's for sure.
That's absolutely correct. The last thing that I had here was we got some excited customers, and I would love for our listeners and producers to keep funneling information like this into us, because it's fun when we say something works and a practice or a process works, and we get results that emulate that. It's very exciting for us. So I have some northern customers here. So let's just call it north of the Iowa-Missouri line, that have had extreme success in their ultra early or hyper early wheat varieties, and then following it with a double crop. The first one here is from Maquoketa, Iowa. This customer planted Binti 12. That Binti 12 made 90 bushel an acre. It was harvested on June 29th. They baled.
That's north of Interstate 80, isn't it?
Yeah, it's north of, it'd be right along the Cedar Rapids line, I think.
Yeah, Highway 30-ish.
Yep. So they harvested the wheat on June 29th. At 13.5% moisture, they baled June 30th, and they planted their double crops on July 1st. They used our brand new Osage bean that we had a few extras of, and on August 29th was their last rain. And those beans, I did not write it down on this piece of paper, but I'm pretty sure those beans made 37 bushel an acre. I had that on a different sheet of paper that I was translating it over, but they did make 37. The grower's extremely impressed and excited about that.
What did the beans make, do you know?
37 bushel an acre.
The beans made 37, and then the wheat made, I'm sorry, I should have said the wheat. I got it backwards there.
Yes, the wheat made 90 bushel an acre, and the soybeans made 37. I have them in Monroe, Wisconsin, double crop beans. Those went 27. I don't know what the wheat did before that on that one, but the beans weren't planted till July 19th, and they still rolled 27 bushel an acre. The grower is ecstatic with that. I think they had some rain in there that messed with planting time on that one. Down in Fort Madison, where we raised our hyper early lines on the Merschmann's own ground, that wheat probably made in the mid 80s, if I remember correctly. We had a couple fields do high 90s, but there's a lot of sand on that farm. Yeah. It's a little bit variable there. But there's 10 acres that we didn't harvest because the sand was so sharp and the beans were only about 2-3 inches tall and there wasn't really anything on them. If you take that 10 acres out on what I would call variable soils, they made 47. And if you throw that 10 acres back in, they would have made 41 without harvesting 10 acres. So
I mean, Dylan did all that, so it's fact.
Right. So we're very, very excited about that. Dylan, how did our wheat do here in West Point?
Yeah, so we put wheat on some plots, our little plots in West Point, and that wheat ended up doing 91 across everything, and then the double crop beans that we just took off did 51. So phenomenal.
Incredible. We also have one more grower on my list that raised 117 bushel per acre seed production wheat and ended up with 42 bushel soybeans.
And that was here in West Point too.
So when I was talking with a grower from Maquoketa, he said that essentially the wheat at 90 bushel an acre took care of the land payment, took care of not necessarily the land payment, but land costs,
yeah.
Like whether it's rent or owned. So you got your land costs taken care of, your soybean costs taken care of, your herbicide programs taken care of, your fertilizer taken care of, and the 37 bushel per acre wheat is the profit on that acre. So 370, if we can get back to $10, $370 dollars an acre pure profit. I mean, on variable ground, I mean that's pretty darn good money.
Yeah, that's very good.
Well, West Point's, I mean, that's some pretty high class dirt there. So.
Of course.
No, I wouldn't call it that. Thanks to Henry, my brother's Henry's fertilizer, it's pretty productive. If you put enough fertilizer on it, it can be productive.
No, I think that's a great point there as we're ending the wheat season here. Probably going to have some rains that are coming up this weekend for most of our viewing area. That's probably going to, especially to the north, start to dwindle the planting of wheat and down south as well. But those, we're going to get more data. Last year we've got a little bit more on top of that, and now we're taking the step change to the hyper early. Very, very easily it can accommodate double crop north of that Missouri-Iowa line, and like you just showed there, north of I-80 as well.
Yeah, when I was actually sitting in the combine when we were taking off the Fort Madison stuff, and I couldn't believe I was harvesting 75 bushel. I mean, there were spots out in the field that were 75 bushel double crop beans. It was just, and they were on Truman's is what our double crop soybeans that we use.
Yeah, there is a couple spots in that field that are pretty high corn suitability index. So I mean, it's close to 100. So, but there's also some spots probably maybe less than 30 too. So.
Right.
Did it make you feel good to know that the double crop was doing a little bit better than your first crop?
Yeah, my personal first crop. Yeah, it pained me watching these amazing beans come in. But anyway, no, it was a lot of fun seeing that process work like we intended it to work. So, Dylan, what do you got in front of you?
We did a flex plot population trial in the West Point plot this year. I just wanted to hit on a few hybrids that really kind of stand out. So as been in the team in the sales force, they really try and key on like where the products need to go and population, or just not just blowing it at you because we're a seed company. But these products are really showing that a little bit higher population is doing better. So we had 22,000, 28,000, and 36,000 population. And if we start at the 108 day, the 2408, at 22,000 it did 250. But then if we go down to our 36,000, it did 278. It's a 28 bushel difference. So when you turn it into that at $4 corn, that it really makes a huge difference. Just because with the flex that these products have, we know which ones flex a little bit more than maybe some that we can kind of lower lower a little bit. But then we go to our 111 day, which is the one I kind of really wanted to pay attention to because we knew it's kind of more of a girthier ear. It's not going to throw that big long ear. And it was a 36 bushel difference going from 22 to 36,000. And that's really what we've been pushing, is that particular product needs to be pushed maybe a little bit higher than some of our other products in the lineup, just because of the girth and not necessarily the length that it throws. So.
And then you got goofy products like that 2512, right?
Yep, and then we go to our new 112 day.
Here's what pains us as salesmen.
At 22,000, it ended up doing 282. And then we go down to 36,000, it did 263. But still with that product, we know it throws like girth and it really throws some length to it. So we still don't like you planting at 22,000. Let's just...
Yeah, and at 22,000, that's kind of the bare minimum.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, that's dry land, Nebraska, Kansas style planting populations. Really, I like that product in that 32, 34 range.
Yeah, and we saw that product in field situations too. And even at dropped at 34, it still looked like it needed to be pushed maybe a tick more than, or I guess it was planted at 32, and we think it needs that 34 to 35. It just needs a tick more population to it.
Oh, it's just amazing what certain products can do. You know, you listen to guys that have been in the industry forever talking about, 7 bushel per thousand of your planting population. And I think we might have talked about it on Cup of Joe before, but I think it was 12.8 bushel per thousand is what that 2512 pushed this year. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, to your point on that 22,000, we get up here in the more highly productive areas. Some of that with the population is an insurance on the front end. That this is great, and why we like looking at this is if we get into a situation where, say we had adverse conditions in the spring, you're looking at a potential for a replant decision, how low can we go with that population and still try to get the most yield? Because the most yield you have in a replant is that the stuff that's already existing out there. So when we look at this stuff, we're looking at, planting ideal harvestable population, but also at the same point, how low can we go before we have to look at maybe the economics are just a little bit different on replant for certain to hybrids. And then, when we talk about getting down that low, there is, like I said, insurance for your population. There's some weed control. Particularly, that 12, that makes sense why that one did really good at that population, because it's got that real wide leaf. We get something to maybe a little bit closer to the 11 where we start to narrow up that leaf sheath a little bit. We just need more solar panels out there for yield and then for weed control. But this is something that is not probably unique to the industry, but we take a lot of pride in, and this goes back to even when we were distributors of the Stein corn as well. We really like to find out down to the nitty-gritty on placement with soil types and population to maximize your ROI when it comes to recommendations. So when we're looking at our discussions with our dealers and our growers from the sales standpoint, we're trying to match up to the yield environment to get the most yield out of that, and then we're also looking at population, so that way we're managing that ROI for our farmer as well. So sometimes, like 12, it's not necessarily the greatest from a seed company standpoint. We're not going to sell as much, but we know at the end of the day that's what's going to help the farmer maximize his return and be able to be profitable and continue to support us.
Sounds good. Anything else? Well, we always get new listeners and watchers every week, so I just this is the corny joke segment. And if you want to know why we tell a corny joke, it's because I'll review it. It's because back in the 30s there was a seed company that was selling garden seeds, and back then you didn't have the capability to the beautiful color photographs and all the stuff that we put in our seed guides now today. So it was mainly text, and it was so boring that in order to get the potential customer to turn the page for this seed catalog, they would put a corny joke on each page, and in that they were hoping that they would read the corny joke and maybe look at some of their seed products. Well, our philosophy is the same way. We hope that you stick around to the end to hear the corny jokes.
I think you called us boring.
Fortunately, today you can just fast forward right to the corny jokes too if you want. So, but anyhow, we try to bring you good information. I mean, this thing about seed quality, you probably not heard that. We talk about the double crop. So every week we try to come up, what can we talk about that's going to be, some of the stuff's not going to come out till after the first year, or even maybe February, March, when the other companies have to fess up, but we just thought we'd tickle your thinking cap a little bit by talking about this. Okay, Thursday night was Halloween, so I'm still in the Halloween mode. You know, we had Jeff, Barb, and I. We had over about 350 folks pass through. The houses are close together, so you know they just jump them off and they come through in waves. Okay, all right. Now we got all this rain predicted coming up this weekend, so I'll start with this one here. Okay, why don't ghosts like rain on Halloween? It dampens their spirits. It dampens their spirits. Starting out slow, we'll build up. Okay.
I don't think you need to turn the page.
Turn the page, right? Look for the next one. Okay. The other day, you know, I don't know if you know, but our test plot is right next to the cemetery here in West Point. So I walked out into the cemetery, and by gosh, my phone wouldn't work. You know, it would not work in the graveyard at all. I guess you would call it a dead zone. Okay. Okay. That goes with Halloween. Okay. All right, now I don't know, you guys didn't come down trick-or-treat. I didn't see you anyhow, but I dressed up like a screwdriver for Halloween. I don't know if you knew that. It wasn't the best costume, but it turned a lot of heads, okay? Only a farmer would understand that, okay? Now, this weekend is a big weekend, you know. You got to turn the clocks back. You get that extra hour back, you know, we lost last spring. Now, my son Jeff, he's trying to turn the clocks back already, but I won't let him. I told him, not on my watch. Okay? All right. And that's it. I ain't going to keep turning the page. That's right. Well, fortunately, you've probably clicked off already by now. But anyhow, thanks for watching and listening today. If you do it by podcast, we sincerely appreciate your business. It's time to order your seed. And we hope your family is safe and healthy. See you next week.